On behalf of SoldFast.com, I'm happy to present to you this free training on how to find your home's value utilizing Zillow.com. Now, for the sake of this example, we're going to go to Zillow.com and we're going to be utilizing the address of 839 Ridgetop Circle in St. Charles, Missouri. Now, right off the bat, we do want to point out that the Zestimate is not the comp or what the house is worth. It's basically Zillow's guess of what they think the property's worth based off of kind of publicly available data and their own proprietary algorithm. They basically trying to figure out how to price every house in the country, which there's a lot of variables there. That's not going to work flawlessly. They even here have a range of $350,000 to $390,000. Don't know about you, but $40,000 is quite a bit of money to us. And we want to be more specific than that when trying to determine what our house is actually worth. Now, a couple flaws with the Zestimate: it doesn't take into account any repairs that are needed or any like major upgrades that have been done that maybe makes this property stand out. Similarly, they're not going to take into account things like, is the house next door boarded up? Or is the entire street torn up by county while they're repaving the cul-de-sac? So if this property needed, say, $100,000 worth of major renovations, there's no way you're going to get anywhere near $350,000 to $390,000. It's going to be substantially less. Now, assuming that your property is in relatively good or average condition, let's show you how to find what your property is valued at utilizing Zillow. Now, they used to, if you scroll all the way down, used to have a thing that would pop up around here called similarly sold. First thing to check is if they have that for your market. We're utilizing Missouri because they're a non-disclosure state, meaning Zillow doesn't actually have access to comparable sales or what places actually sold for. The only place you're going to get that is from a licensed real estate agent like somebody on our SoldFast team. So if we want to try to determine roughly what this property is worth, we're going to have to dig a little bit. So this property is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, right at 2,100 square feet in this particular zip code. So we're going to close out of this guy and we're going to build out these filters. So we've got properties that have sold. I already went in and punched in larger than 3, larger than 2, isolated just houses, under more. If you scroll down here, we also want to do like the closer to the property and more recent, the better. I'm going to do 90 days just for this example. It's worth noting with comps, you want the properties to be like within 20% of the square footage, as close to the property as possible and as recent as possible and as in similar condition as possible. The more closely related the properties are, the more accurate that it's going to be, or I guess the more comparable that it's going to be. So if we tap more, we probably also want to throw some square footage in here. We had that this house is 2,100 square feet. So let's go like 1,750 to 2,250. As we can see, that actually removed a decent bit of options. Now, the next thing that we want to do is we want to get as close as possible to this property. One thing we don't want to do is use properties that are on the major side or on the other side, excuse me, of major like thoroughfares. So Highway 94 here, what properties sell for on the north is going to be different typically than what they sell for on the south. Even on like a smaller scale, we probably wouldn't want to even cross a street like this. We really want to try to stay like in the same neighborhood. Now, this particular area is going to be right here off of All right, Ryan, you're going to have to edit that. All right, 3, 2, 1, cutting back in. So this particular property is located right here off of O'Fallon Road. So we can see in this actual subdivision, we have three pretty good comps. Okay, cool. All right. So in this exact subdivision, we actually have three pretty good comps. So the property would be right here off of Ridgetop. Now we'll notice if we click on these that it doesn't give us a value just as it was sold, right? Now also notice as you zoom in, it's going to limit it to just the ones that you're looking at. So these all sold in the past 90 days. They're in the same area. These two are going to be most closely related to that project. So if we click on this, we can look through the pictures and just see, hey, does this kind of match the condition of that property? If it does, great. If it's nicer, okay, we might sell for a little bit less than that. If this property is substantially worse, okay, we might get more than that from it. So I would do that. All right, you have to cut that out. If the property is in worse shape than that, you might end up getting less than that. So what we're going to want to do is click on this guy, going to scroll down, and we're going to see what it was listed at and pended for. Now, most properties, if they haven't been price dropping them over and over and over again, end up selling for pretty close to what the pended price was. Obviously, from that, you have to deduct out any repairs or like requests, like maybe they want you to help with their down payment kind of stuff. But it looks like we can say that this one went for roughly $415K. Let's look at this one next. And we can see that this one apparently went for quite a bit less. So we might want to ask ourselves, why is that? Is it that one property was substantially nicer? I think this one looks a little prettier from the outside, maybe better curb appeal. But again, 4-bed, 3-bath, same subdivision, roughly the same size. 4-bedroom, 3-bath, roughly the same size. Sold in October, and I believe the other one sold in November. So if we were going to use those two comps, we have 415,000 plus 360,000. If we divide that by 2 for what we're looking at, we're left with $387,500. Now, we then want to kind of decide which of these two particular examples were most closely related to, probably adjust down a bit more that way. If you wanted to be really scientific, you could also take the price that it was last pended at, divide that by the square footage, and then multiply that by the house at 839 Ridgetop to come up with a little bit more of an exact number. We've actually had a free sheet that we'll link to for you that you're free to kind of plug in this information, and it'll do that calculation for you. On behalf of the SoldFast team, hopefully this helps you find your home's value utilizing Zillow. Talk to you next time.